Live from the campus of Penn State University, this is PSN News. It's Monday, March 14th. We have all you need to know about Penn State's newest on-campus masking policies, as well as details on a possible increase to the school's funding.
We also have more on the conflict between Russia and Ukraine, along with entertainment, sports, and weather. Stay tuned.
Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Cameron Lobley.
And I'm Courtney McGinley.
Starting today, face masks are no longer required in many indoor spaces across Penn State campuses. The change comes in response to much of the Commonwealth moving into the medium level of the CDC's COVID-19 scale, which does not include CDC indoor masking recommendations. However, masks are still mandatory in classrooms, labs, and other academic spaces. Penn State has said this is due to them being areas of, quote, high-density congregation, unquote. The university does continue to encourage indoor mask wearing and will continue its own COVID-19 mitigation efforts, including weekly tests for unvaccinated individuals and university contact tracing.
Penn State President Eric Barron is discussing the university's commitment to keeping costs low for students and how funding will be used to benefit Pennsylvanians. Governor Tom Wolf is proposing a 5% increase in Penn State's funding, and Barron indicates that state support is critical to control the cost of a degree. In-state students at Penn State pay $13,300 less than those out of state. State funding is used to lower the cost of tuition for Pennsylvania students. Additionally, funding is important to help Penn State's ability to innovate, recruit and retain faculty and staff, and invest in academic programs. Barron is also working with a task force to support student food and housing security. The university's appropriation will be finalized this summer as the General Assembly must agree and present a 2022-2023 state budget for the governor's signature by Thursday, June 30th.
A Port Matilda man has recently admitted to the suspected serial rapes of 4 Penn State students over the course of 7 years. 37-year-old Jeffrey Fields pled guilty on Thursday to 17 charges, including rape and sexual assault for each of the victims. Field purportedly committed the spree between 2010 and 2017, during which he raped and assaulted 2 19-year-old and 2 20-year-old women in the State College area. Investigators used DNA samples from each assault to connect Fields to all 4 cases. Deputy DA Sean McGraw said that a sentence is yet to be requested by the prosecution, but he expects to ask for a minimum of decades in prison.
39-year-old Alan Dorsey awaits his arraignment after being indicted on drug trafficking and firearm charges. He is accused of distributing methamphetamine and possession with intent to deliver drugs such as meth, fentanyl, and tramadol to Center County earlier in the year. Additionally, he is being charged with possessing a 9mm handgun with 21 rounds of ammunition. Pennsylvania State Police and the U.S. Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives are investigating the case. It is being prosecuted as a part of the heroin initiative, targeting heroin traffickers operating in the Middle District of Pennsylvania. After the snowstorm that hit State College this past weekend, what can we expect the weather to look like this week? Madeline Zarkowski has this week's weather report after the break.
The good news, I think it's pretty safe to say we can put those snow shovels away. We're looking at above average temperatures this week, and tonight we're falling back to 39 degrees, which is still above average for this time of year. And we're going to have partly cloudy skies tonight with a light wind of about 5 to 10 miles per hour. Now, if we take a look at your out-the-door forecast for tomorrow, we're going to have sunny skies tomorrow morning, 38 degrees on your way out the door, but those clouds are going to build throughout the day tomorrow. We're looking at 50 degrees with mostly cloudy skies tomorrow afternoon, and by 5 p.m. on your way out the door, those clouds are building, overcast skies with 55 degrees. Now, if we jump ahead to this weekend, we're going to have a high of 67 degrees on Friday. So that's my pick of the week. You're going to want to get out and enjoy that sunshine on Friday, a beautiful day. But those temperatures are going to drop a bit on Saturday and Sunday as we have a low pressure system make its way in and this high pressure system moves out, bringing some rain Friday evening into Saturday morning. So on Saturday, you're going to see a little bit of showers, but those skies will clear for Sunday. Now, if we take a look at our 7-day forecast, like I said, above average temperatures this week, 55 for our high today and 57 for tomorrow, breaking into the 60s starting on Wednesday. Hello, spring, right? And on Thursday, 64 degrees. There is a slight chance for some showers on Thursday. Friday, rain overnight into Saturday morning, and dropping back down into the 50s on Saturday and Sunday. That's all from me, and coming up, Carly Nolan has the latest in sports after the break.
Welcome back to PSN News. I'm Carly Knowlton with your sports update. Just moments after Penn State's men's basketball team concluded their 2021-2022 season, the program received news regarding one of their top players. Senior guard Jalen Pickett will be using his coronavirus-granted extra year of eligibility and will return for next year. After playing 3 seasons with Siena College, Pickett transferred to Penn State and played as the starting point guard. For the 2021-22 season, Pickett averaged 13.3 points and 4.3 rebounds per game. Other Penn State players have taken advantage of this extra year of eligibility, such as forward John Harrah. Pickett will not be joined by star teammates like Greg Lee, Jelani White, Sam Sessoms, Miles Dredd, and John Harrah. Turning our attention to another on-the-road game, Penn State softball traveled to New York, New Jersey on Friday to compete in the Delaware Invitational. The team would be in a doubleheader against the Delaware Blue Ray Hens on Friday, March 11th, and one game against Canisius College on Saturday, March 12th. The Nittany Lions went on to win 1-0 against the Blue Hens in the first game, thanks to senior pitcher Bailey Parshall. For the second contest, the Blue Hens had a 5-1 advantage, but then shortly after, a home run by the Blue Hens gave them a 6-4 win over the Nittany Lions. Penn State's game against Canisius on Saturday was canceled. The Nittany Lions' next game on the road at Pitt this Wednesday, March 16th, on the NACC network. First pitch at 5 p.m. The Cleveland Cavaliers signed center Moses Brown to a 10-day contract last Thursday after center Jarrett Allen broke his finger. Brown played for the Dallas Mavericks earlier this season and is now expected to play in Friday's game in Miami. The Cavaliers have not revealed when Allen will return, but it was imperative that they needed help. Brown played 1 year at UCLA and spent his 2019-2020 season with the Portland Trailblazers despite going undrafted. The Cavs are now hoping to make the playoffs for the first time since 2018. And that's all for sports. After the break, Kylie Waller has the latest updates from the world of entertainment. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to PSN News. I'm Kylie Waller with your entertainment update. The Penn State Thespian Society is gearing up to present 9 to 5 starting Thursday, March 24th through Saturday, March 26th. This country swinging musical, complete with a soundtrack written by the Queen of Country herself, Dolly Parton, is sure to make you sing and dance with songs like Backwoods Barbie and 9 to 5. This theatrical organization features many talented students of all grades across campus and a completely student-run production staff. More information regarding ticket sales will be released soon. Let's get ready to rumble! WWE Road to WrestleMania is coming to the Bryce Jordan Center on Saturday, March 26th. Guests young and old will all be coming together to watch the beatdown of the century. With big names like Roman Reigns and Sasha Banks, it's sure to be an all-star evening. For more information regarding tickets and seating, visit the Bryce Jordan Center website. This summer is definitely going to be one to remember as far as television goes. Heavily anticipated after its 3-year hiatus, Stranger Things 4 Volume 1 will premiere on Friday, May 27th, with Part 2 coming out on July 1st. The hit show The Umbrella Academy also recently announced the release date for their 3rd season. The season premiere will drop on Wednesday, June 22nd. Both of these binge-worthy shows will be able to watch specifically on the streaming platform Netflix. That's all for your entertainment update. After the break, interview anchor Olivia Osnamer will be speaking to Professor Dumas about his extensive career
in acting, directing, as well as his work in the political world. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to PSN News. I'm Olivia Osneimer, and tonight I have the pleasure of speaking to Professor Charles Dumas. Professor Dumas has accomplished so much throughout his lifetime. In addition to teaching here at Penn State, Professor Dumas is an actor, a director, a researcher, a politician, and a civil rights advocate. I would love to dive into all of your amazing achievements and explore some of the choices you've made, Professor. Thanks for coming tonight.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm honored to be here to have a chance to talk to young folks.
Yes, so I want to start off talking about your career in a whole. You've had such a varied career, from being an actor in Law and Order, being a director, to being a champion of social causes, and to running for a political position. How has each of these experiences helped shape your worldview?
Well, they've all sort of followed on each other. I started off basically as a high school dropout on the south side of Chicago and got involved in the civil rights movement, and the civil rights movement led me into going to law school and becoming a lawyer, becoming a teacher. And in the process of that, I've always been a writer, and so being a writer was a way to sort of communicate. When I was a young person, I was a stutterer, and it was easier for me to write stuff down and then read them as opposed to just sort of saying it, off the cuff. And then the civil rights movement, like I said, led me into law. Law led me back into writing, and then that led me into teaching. And teaching is what I think I've found a real niche. I've been teaching at Penn State since '95. Before that, I taught at other places for 10 years before that. So I consider myself in that position of being able to pass on what the people have passed on to me, what the ancestors have passed on to me. So I think they've all sort of fed into each other, which is good.
Yeah.
I've been very blessed.
That's awesome. So here at Penn State,
Yes.
you wrote and directed a virtual play, the Osaze Project, and it's based on a 29-year-old State College resident. Can you give a brief description of what happened with Ozagi, and for the viewers that aren't familiar with this tragic incident, and why you decided to create this play and tell such an important story?
Well, Iyun and Sylvester Osagi are good friends of mine. I knew them when they first came here, and we traveled to Nigeria together, we traveled to Ghana together, and so I knew Osagi. And what happened in that instance was that Sylvester got a mental health 302 warrant because his son was on the autistic scale and wanted the police to try to help locate him because he had disappeared. 3 policemen showed up at Osazi's house on 320 and 220, and we don't know in detail what happened, but we know that less than a minute later he was dead, had been shot 3 times. It was a tragic event. It never should have happened. There shouldn't have been 3 policemen there as far as I'm concerned. Guns never should have come out. It was a 302 mental health warrant. I said, I'm an artist, I'm a teacher. The best way I can do this is to sort of describe what happened by using my art. And so I wrote a play, and other folks who were involved in the process, involved in the movement, participated in the play. We've done it 3 times now. The School of Theater produced it the last time. Before that, it was done down at the theater downtown. And we're going to do it again. And we're going to do it until the message gets across to everybody who needs to know. We do not need guns to deal with children who are going through mental health situations.
Right. Very, very tragic accident.
Very tragic.
I actually did not know about the accident, the incident, until I came to Penn State. So I'm sure, it's very devastating.
The last time there was a demonstration before the pandemic sort of really caught hold, there were 1,000 people, in front of Allen Street gate protesting it. And it's, by the way, it's coming up again. 320 is going to be, there's going to be a poetry reading in front of the Borough Hall. There's going to be a performance, not a performance, but a celebration at the Albright Bethune Church. So it's keeping it alive, keeping the thought. And it's not just about Osazi, it's about, how do we do policing in a way that is humane and that is just?
Right.
I mean, it makes no one would be surprised to know that Osagie was a black man, and the police weren't. And that's all I'm going to say about it.
Right. So you've also gone into politics.
Yeah.
Can you
screaming, kicking and screaming into politics. Yeah.
Can you explain your experience within politics and advocating for civil rights and equality for all?
Yeah, I think politics is the science of the possible. Politics is it's another way of talking about life and how do you get stuff done. One of the ways we used to do back in the 60s was we'd march on picket lines and we'd sit in and we'd get arrested and we'd go to jail and we'd sign petitions. Today, we are able to move into the legitimate political spectrum. And I ran for Congress, which people thought was a really crazy idea. You may have noticed, an African American, and I was running in an area that had less than 2% African Americans in it, and it hadn't elected a Democrat in a very, very long time. But I ran because I wanted to get, in 2012, I ran for Congress and I wanted to get the message of Barack Obama out there. I wanted to get the message of progressive Democrats out there. The idea of what is justice and what is humanity and what is trying to save the world from burning up through global warming, and how do we do these things? And we do these things by using those weapons, those devices that had been won for us by our ancestors, and that's in the political area. I got almost a third of the vote, which was more than anybody on the Democratic side had gotten for a while. And more importantly, we organized a lot of folks. We got a lot of folks together and knocking on doors, and got out into some counties that I didn't even know existed until I started running for the area.
Mm-hmm. And so, speaking of that, what do you think about the current state of the social justice today? And do you have any advice for future advocates that are participating in these types of movements?
I am so proud of you young people. I think that young people today, first of all, you're a lot smarter than we were. I mean, our communication devices were, a mimeograph machine and knocking on doors, and we weren't all that skilled in the technological accomplishments and devices that you guys have. But I'm very proud of them because they have not only the intelligence and the patience, but they have the will. And they and more importantly, they understand that the issues that people are fighting for are their issues. There were a lot of people I'm as I said, an African American, so when I was fighting for civil rights, of course I'm fighting for the rights of my people. But there were a whole bunch of white kids who were part of that movement, and they were kind of like doing it because they wanted to help black folks. And there's nothing wrong with that. They're my friends, I love them, etc. But now, young people are fighting for what they know directly affects their lives. And so all I can say is stay the course. It doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen always the way you want to happen, but it's going to happen. Just keep fighting. I'm very proud of it.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming today. Coming up next, we have Cameron and Courtney with the latest stories from across the nation. Join us after the break.
Just yesterday, Russia bombarded a Ukrainian military base stationed just 11 miles from the Polish border. Ukraine reported that at least 35 individuals were killed and over 100 injured in the attack early Sunday morning. The base acted as a hub for U.S. and NATO forces to train Ukrainian soldiers, and the attack has raised concerns that Russia may be looking to cut off nearby supply routes used for both humanitarian and defense equipment. Ukrainian officials also reported the death of an American journalist and wounding of another in Kyiv. Brent Renaud was on assignment for Time Studios covering the refugee crisis in Ukraine. He and fellow journalist Juan Orodondo came under fire by Russian forces at a checkpoint in a Kyiv suburb. Orodondo was injured in the attack, and Renaud was shot dead. He was 50 years old.
2 southern states are having concerns regarding the LGBTQ+ community. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is facing backlash after calling the Walt Disney Company, quote, woke. Disney is rejecting the bill that would ban classroom talk about sexual orientation and gender identity with kids in kindergarten through 3rd grade. Disney's CEO Bob Chapek states that he, quote, has concern that if legislation becomes a law, it could be used to unfairly target gay, lesbian, non-binary, and transgender kids and families, end quote. DeSantis disagrees and states that, quote, We are going to make sure parents are able to send their kids to kindergarten without having some of this stuff injected into their school curriculum, end quote. In Texas, Governor Greg Abbott states that teachers and medical professionals to report to Child Protective Services parents who help their kids get treatment such as puberty-suppressing drugs and hormones.
Pain at the pump is prevalent for many Americans as gas price records continue to rise nationwide. With the soaring expenses also comes a rising questions regarding how they could get so high. Experts have attributed the growing cost to post-pandemic demand for gas, cuts to production during the pandemic, and the more recent effects of the Ukraine-Russia conflict. Patrick DeHaan, head of petroleum analysis at Gas Buddy, said that the actions of the Russian government during the conflict will likely be a key factor in how prices will change, saying, quote, "If Putin stays as president and signs a peace treaty, it'll take months for countries to do business with him. Again, because they have to gauge whether he's reliable. If there's a regime change in Russia, the change could come much quicker," unquote.
A once-in-a-lifetime encounter between a park visitor and rare animal was caught on camera last week. Carl Kemp was on tour through Yellowstone National Park when he spotted a wolverine in the middle of the road. Tour guide McNeil Lyons was working in various jobs at Yellowstone for over 2 decades, and this was the first time he saw a wolverine up close. A research survey from 2006 to 2009 in the park only documented 7 wolverines in the Yellowstone borders. Wolverines are surprisingly part of the weasel family, not wolves, and prefer to live in a cooler climate. They are not just rare in Yellowstone. Wolverines have a low population around the world because of their territorial nature. That concludes our show tonight at PSN News.
Be sure to check us out on Twitter and Facebook at PSN News, on Instagram at Penn State Network News, and to subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/PSN News.
Have a great night and stay safe, Penn State.
Really good. Nice work. I like